In 2010, India's Comptroller and Auditor General published a report containing a staggering calculation. The government had lost an estimated $40 billion, or 1.76 trillion rupees, in potential revenue during a recent allocation of telecom frequencies. As this animated diagram shows, that single loss equaled roughly 3.6% of India's entire gross domestic product at the time. The fallout was immediate and intense. Nationwide protests erupted across India, demanding accountability. Telecom Minister A. Raja was forced to resign and was subsequently arrested, alongside several high-profile corporate executives who were sent to jail pending trial. 2 years later, the Supreme Court of India stepped in with a severe punitive measure. The court abruptly cancelled all 122 of the telecom licenses in question, effectively wiping out the investments of the involved companies and sending shockwaves through global financial markets. Curious, slightly shifting tone, but in 2017, a special trial court delivered a verdict that contradicted almost everything that had happened up to that point. The judge completely acquitted A. Raja and all the other accused individuals of any criminal conspiracy. We are left with a massive legal and historical contradiction. The highest court in the country ruled the allocation was an arbitrary, illegal giveaway of a public resource, while a trial court simultaneously decided that no actual crime took place. By 2007, mobile phone usage in India was exploding. Millions of new users were coming online, creating a highly lucrative demand among telecommunications companies for 2G radio spectrum to carry those wireless signals. Instead of auctioning less valuable spectrum to the highest bidder, Telecom Minister A. Raja decided to allocate the licenses using a first-come, first-served policy. Crucially, he priced these 2008 licenses using rates set all the way back in 2001, ignoring 7 years of exponential market growth. As you can see in this timeline animation, the Telecom Ministry then manipulated the rules. They abruptly shifted the application deadline backward. This sudden change ignored explicit advice from both the finance and law ministries, and it instantly disqualified a large block of applicants who thought they still had time to file. When the day finally came to submit the paperwork, the physical process descended into chaos. Application counters were allegedly closed or obstructed, creating a frantic scramble where company representatives physically pushed their way to the front, trying to get their files stamped before their competitors. By combining severely outdated prices with sudden, restrictive rule changes, the ministry's process locked out established telecom giants. Instead, the licenses were handed out to completely inexperienced shell companies that simply managed to be first in line. Once these inexperienced companies secured the cheap government licenses, they immediately turned around and sold massive stakes in their own equity to foreign investors at enormous premiums. This bar chart illustrates the severity of the discrepancy. Swan Telecom, an entirely new company, paid a very low initial fee to the government for its license. Just weeks later, they sold a 50% stake to a foreign telecom firm, securing a multi-billion-dollar valuation based entirely on the spectrum they had just acquired. These highly suspicious allocations prompted an official review by the government's auditing body. Lead auditor Vinod Rai and his team were tasked with examining the transactions to figure out exactly how much money the public exchequer had lost. This graphic breaks down the economic formula Rai's team used, which they called presumptive loss. They took the 2010 market value of the spectrum, based on recent 3G auctions and those foreign equity flips, and subtracted the actual, much lower price the companies paid in 2008. Rather than tracking stolen cash, the auditors applied this theoretical math across all 122 issued licenses. As the calculation expands outward, you can see how they arrived at that explosive final figure, a potential revenue loss of 1.76 trillion rupees. By relying on this presumptive economic calculation, the audit transformed a deeply flawed administrative policy into what looked like an enormous quantifiable theft. It was a staggering number that enraged the public, but it would eventually create massive hurdles for the prosecution in a court of law. Fast forward to December 2017. After years of exhaustive hearings, Special Judge O.P. Saini released a massive 1,552-page verdict on the matter. The outcome stunned the nation. Raja, top bureaucrats, and the corporate executives were acquitted of all charges. The prosecution had failed to produce legally admissible evidence proving that any actual bribes were paid. To understand how this happened, look at this comparative scale balancing the two distinct legal concepts at play. On one side, the Supreme Court canceled the licenses because the allocation policy itself was unconstitutional and arbitrary. On the other side, sending individuals to prison requires proving a coordinated criminal conspiracy with hard evidence, which the prosecuting agency simply did not do. In his final ruling, the trial judge offered a harsh critique of the prosecution's case, stating that a massive scam perception had been created by artfully arranging a few selected facts and exaggerating things beyond recognition. The legal system operates on strict burdens of proof. Executing a disastrous, unfair, or even deeply incompetent government policy does not automatically equate to a provable crime in a court of law. The story, however, is not completely over. In March 2024, the Delhi High Court officially admitted the Investigative Bureau's appeal against those 2017 acquittals, ensuring the legal battle will continue into the future. Beyond the courtroom, the scandal had a permanent effect on Indian governance. It forced the state to completely overhaul how it distributes natural resources, legally mandating transparent, competitive auctions for all future allocations. Ultimately, the 2G saga remains a sharp cautionary tale. It highlights the dangerous intersection of media fervor and theoretical economics, while exposing the immense difficulty of proving systemic political corruption, where policy decisions and criminal intent blur together.